3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Well, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome in from across the continent for another exciting Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants broadcast with us. If you're new to us, which I know many of you are, we are all about bringing conservation, adventure, and science into classrooms around the world. Now, everything we do goes to our YouTube channel, so you can check out 3,500 past programs there on any topic imaginable with the coolest scientists and explorers on planet Earth. And really, you're catching us in a pretty epic day. Number one, this is our final broadcast of the day. We've already went live with someone who crossed Greenland on skis en route to going to the South Pole on skis in the next year. We just also wrapped up with Dr. Brittany Schmidt, who goes down to Antarctica as well with a space robot that they're designing to be able to go to Europa, a moon of Jupiter. So it's been a really epic day. It's what we're all about here at Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants, and I really appreciate you coming in to tune in with us again. Now, today is our day 4 of 5 in an epic 5-part series with the amazing folks at OceanWise. OceanWise is our longest standing ocean partner, and they do better work than anyone on exploring and explaining the oceans to classrooms like you. Whether it's Arctic adventures, whale tales, change makers we've got tomorrow, and today, life at the tideline. It's such a thrill to have them for this special broadcast, and thank you all for tuning in. Now, the tideline, where the water comes up and retreats, is the most chaotic and amazing ecosystem on this planet. There's more challenges in making a living there than pretty much anywhere else on planet Earth. So with our indomitable educator, Julie, we are going to dive in and learn more about this special place. Julie, thank you so much for joining us today, and welcome back to the broadcast.
Hello, everyone. Thank you guys for having me. I am so excited to teach everyone about the tideline. Like Jesse said, it's a really phenomenal place to live, has its challenges and has its perks. So today we're going to learn all about that. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and get started with you all today. Awesome. So life at the tideline, very awesome place to live. I would say I personally love exploring the tideline. There's so much biodiversity, and today we're going to explore all of that. So like Jesse said, I work for a company called OceanWise, and we take on many different challenges that the ocean's facing. Today, I'm actually exploring the youth bubble, which means that I'm taking my knowledge and sharing it with you. That way everyone can have the same knowledge and we can experience that same ocean. So let's go ahead. I am Julie. I go by the pronoun she, her, and I love what I do. I love the ocean. I love being on the water. And I love sharing my knowledge with everyone who's maybe a little bit further away from the ocean than I am. But I live right on the edge of the west coast of Canada. So chime in on where you're from today. I'm super excited to see where everyone's coming from. So put it in the chat, and Jesse, go ahead and share me some responses. But Squamish is where I am from, and I humbly gather on 2 Indigenous territories, the Squamish and the Cayuse, Umatilla and Walla Walla First Nations. Now, by acknowledging where I'm presenting from, I just commit to sharing the responsibility to protect and preserve the lands and the waters around me. So go ahead, share where you're from today.
We've got Chatham, Ontario. We've got Glenview, Illinois. We got Toronto in the chat. I'm in Corner Brook, Newfoundland, which means that I am closer to Morocco than I am to you. Canada is a very, very big place. You could cross the Atlantic Ocean faster than I could get to Squamish. But we've got the Powell River, BC folks as well. They're everywhere. They're everywhere, Julie.
Oh, they're everywhere. This is amazing. So we're going to learn all about something that surrounds us all. No matter where you are in the land, the ocean surrounds us. So let's go ahead and dive in today. Now, being in ocean conservation, I definitely have some favorite animals too. The humpback whale, I've had the privilege to see many, and they're very, very important to me. I love them so much, as well as jellyfish. As much as I study the ocean, I definitely still don't understand these creatures as much as I should. So I love the appeal that they have with being nice and mysterious. So go ahead, pop it in the chat. Tell me, or even if you want to unmute some classes, Jesse, let's hear what some favorite animals are of the ocean.
Favorite animals. You know what? Avoca West. Favorite animals. Grade 3s.
Favorite animals.
Sea otter.
Sea otters.
Joey.
Humpback, go ahead, jellyfish, whale sharks, Miss Amels class. What do we think? Let's see. Yell it out. You got to unmute though. Keep that mic unmuted. It's more fun that way. I'm a whale shark guy personally. We've got shark on YouTube. We've got sharks. Yeah.
Amazing.
These are awesome.
These are awesome. These are great. And today we might be exploring your favorite animal, or we may not be. Maybe you're going to learn something new. So let's go ahead. Today we're talking about the tide line. So first of all, in order to understand where that intertidal zone is, we need to understand what are tides. Now, tides, we definitely can explore the intertidal zone, but what are tides? So it's the rise and the fall of the ocean. And it's kind of really complicated, but it's actually the gravitational pull from the moon. So the moon is a really lovely thing, but we have to thank it for all of the tide and the moving water that we have on this planet. So the gravitational pull from the moon, you can actually think of it like a magnet. So our Earth, or our Earth's water, is like those little magnetic balls in the photo. And the moon is the magnet. So it attracts and detracts that water. So we have 2 high tides every single day, and we have 2 low tides every single day. And that is because of our moon. Now, those tides look very different depending on where you are. Now, this is a place in Canada that has one of the largest tides on planet Earth. This is the Bay of Fundy National Park. We are very, very excited. I actually just went here for the first time my entire life this year with OceanWise. And you can see that during low tide, there's plenty of beaches. There's plenty of sand for people to walk on. But at high tide, that intertidal zone is covered in water. So people would have to swim, or boats would have to float. So you can see how drastic that change could be thanks to the moon. Now, there are so many animals and plants that live in this ecosystem. So today we're going to explore all of them. Now, raise your hand or pop it in the chat. Who here has ever explored an intertidal zone or tide pools?
I'm so glad you mentioned the Bay of Fundy Park too, because that is one of the coolest places, not just in Canada, but the whole world. Like everybody should go see Hopewell Rocks in the Bay of Fundy. It's really, really special. We got a few hands up. We got a lot of hands down. So we've got room for knowledge here, Julie, because a lot of folks have never been to a tidal zone.
That is amazing. So there are many, many different creatures that live in these really small pools that are covered at high tide, but totally dry and bare by low tide. So I would like a show of numbers. How many creatures can you find in this tidal pool? Count them all. Let's get some numbers in the chat here, Jesse. Let's see. It might take them a little bit of time. There's a lot of creatures in this tidal pool.
Here, I'll make the screen as full as can be so you can count. Wow, you know what? I'm not even I'm stopping counting. I'm just gonna throw out a number. We got Braden says 20 in Miss Hamill's class. It's a very good first guess. You're our first guess.
That's the first guess.
That's bold. It's bold to be the first guesser. I like you already. All
Absolutely.
right. 34.
I love the fact that we got some first guesses. And it's kind of a trick question. I wanted to stump you. There are things that you can, and there are things that you can't see within this ecosystem. So even if you were to count 50 or 60, there might be a lot more. So today, let's explore them. So we're going to see who lives in these intertidal zones. So we're going to explore 6 creatures. Oh, sorry, that's bad math. 5 creatures in the number system here. So the first one being a sea star. And sea stars are really fascinating creatures. They come in very many different colors, many different sizes, and commonly known by the name of starfish. Now, in marine biology terms, we don't call them starfish because they're actually not related to fish in any way. They're closer to sea urchins or sand dollars than fish. So we like to call them sea stars. But there's a really fun fact about sea stars. They come in many colors and different shapes. So if you were to be a sea star, which one would you be?
Okay, so I'm going to say that there's an answer here that is my pick, and I also think that anyone who picks anything else is wrong. And that is the middle one on the bottom. It's like a crown of thorns, which is one of the coolest things in all of nature. I finally got the chance to see one at an aquarium this year, and they're amazing. But we've got middle top, looks like Spider-Man. Don't worry, they're all right answers.
However, there's no wrong answer here.
No.
But which one? Just go ahead and pick. I actually have one that I relate the most to, but it's not on this photo. It's a purple starfish found commonly in BC that I see pretty much every day.
Well, middle, top, middle. We got bottom right on YouTube. We got, I say crown of thorns, bottom, middle. All good options, folks. Very nice.
All great options. Now, all of these starfish have something really, really cool in their abilities. If they chop off a limb, if they chop off an arm, they can actually regenerate that arm. So they can go ahead and regrow anything that goes missing. Now, I have a question for you. How long do you think that process takes? If I were to chop off my arm, how long would it take to regrow?
Now, for me, I know that it doesn't regrow. That's very sad thing about humanity is that we don't regrow arms. You can get a prosthetic arm, which is super cool, but you can't grow a new one. 1 or 2 years is our guess for starfish. 2 to 3 days. Oh, I love the range. 2 days.
Wow, we got such a range. That's amazing, Jesse. I'm loving all the guesses. A starfish can really depend. A little baby miniature starfish can take about 3 months to regrow their arms. But if you're looking at a larger starfish, it can take up to a year or 2 to regrow those arms. So it really depends on the size of the starfish and the actual species of it. But I have one more question for you. Do you think that sea stars can swim? True or false? Let's hear it.
By the way, you guys are such a great chat crew. You are some of the fastest people. It's been the best series of all time by a huge margin for chat usage by our teachers. So most say false in Miss Hamill's class. Okay. A lot of false so far. What do we think? YouTubers as well. We got a lot of false in Avoca West. Everyone's saying false that they can't swim is the overarching thing.
Okay, well, I love that because, drum roll please, it is precisely false. So sea stars are not starfish. They cannot swim in the way that other fish and marine animals do. Instead, they move slowly across the ocean floor with hundreds of tiny tubes, little arms that they really pull themselves by. So I'm going to show you a little video. It is a time lapse. It's totally sped up, but this is a sea star moving on the ocean floor. So again, very slow movers, but they don't hop, they don't swim, they just crawl like a baby on the seafloor. So I always think it's very fascinating, and this video really captures it well. Now, this is my favorite type of sea star. We found them. This is actually found right on the coast of Vancouver. And this is a really awesome video to show you those little arms and how they move and manipulate themselves on that sea floor. Everything close up is just so amazing. Looking at nature with great detail is part of humanity, and that's really, really cool. So the next creature that we will investigate, you can go ahead, it is a hermit crab, and hermit crabs are really resourceful. So they go ahead and use and protect by coming in and out of shells. So this is one moving on that beautiful sand. And this shell, once that crab grows, he needs to find another shell to make a bigger home for himself. So we're going to go ahead and explore what those shells look like. So there's a variety of different shells that are found naturally and organically in intertidal zones. So they can find anything that suits them. And I quite literally mean anything. They can find even human garbage that is now collecting on these beaches as their homes. They're really resourceful crabs. And honestly, they can use anything as long as it fits their body and size. So I would like you to go ahead. You can select one item in your classroom or in your space. Which item would you possibly fit in your space?
Looking around my room here. You know, if I could put my bookshelf on my back, I would do that. Because then I'd have like all the reading material at all times around. Oh, what do we got? What do we got? I'm lifting at class. What do we got? There's like a big shirt thing being hung up there in Miss Hamill's class. I like that. You can put it in the chat too. Garbage can kind of works. Mr. Cooper, your class is going bold with the trash. I like it. Seashell water bottle. We're sneaking into a water bottle. Very cool. Okay.
Very cool. Well, I love the different shapes and sizes that you guys collected. Now, hermit crabs can do the same thing. Our next creature is really quite amazing. They're the masters of camouflage. It's an octopus. And these creatures are so intelligent. They have the ability to change colors within a blink of an eye. So we're going to see that nice and close, and I'll cue you when it's happening. This is one of the counterparts. Looking at this octopus swim and navigate the waters. And then this second octopus that comes through in 3, 2, 1. Just like that. Matches its environment instantly. So that is why they're called the masters of camouflage. I'm going to play that video one more time. That way you can see it, because I think it's truly fascinating. They blend into their surroundings so easily, and they've got a really flexible body, so they can fit into any crevices to hide from predators. Just like that. Now, I have a little game to play. We've got 5 animals on the screen. Can you identify what type of animals these are? So go ahead, Jesse, I'm going to let you take the reins on this. Classroom, pick a number, and let's see if they can decipher the code.
Ooh, let's see. Okay. You know what? Mrs. Hamill, we'll head to you guys first. You can pick one number, any number you want, and you can identify it for us. So unmute your mic. Mr. Cooper, you can unmute your mic as well. Everyone can unmute their microphone. We'll pick a number. What do we think grade 6s?
3. We're gonna pick 3. 3. An owl.
What is it?
3.
It's an owl. I think you're right. That's very good. Okay. Avoca West, what do we think? Grade 3s.
We have number 2 as a stonefish.
Oh, interesting. I like that. Very cool. Okay. Mr. Cooper, if you guys want to flick something on, we can come to you guys. Flick your mic. In fact, everyone can keep your microphones on. You're not interfering us at all in the background, I promise.
What's number
Grade
1?
6s. What do we think?
A seal.
Seal, number 1. Nice.
Yes.
Okay. Frogfish for number 2, or stonefish. Very good. Ms. Hamill's class, what about 5? I don't even know what. Wow, 5. Oh, I found 5. Okay.
You look really close to Jesse.
White fox.
White fox. We got
Ooh, very close.
Ooh, we're mixing it up. I like this. So we found everything. And then 4, we've got frog. That's correct. So I found 5. It's not a fox and it's not an owl. It's
What is it,
still
Jesse?
here. No. Julie, tell us what it is. No one's gotten it yet. I love it.
It is a snowbird. So they live in the Arctic and they actually match perfectly with the snow. I can show you where it is with my laser pointer here. You can actually just see its little beacon eyes peeking through right there. It's pretty amazing. They camouflage so well. Again, masters of the art. So my next creature is a sea urchin. Now, sea urchins are found in the intertidal zone. I've actually stepped on many, and they're very, very, very painful to step on. So when I'm going in the intertidal zone, I always make sure that I don't try to step on anything that's alive, and I try to navigate as best as I possibly can when I'm in the intertidal zone. However, I'm human and I do make mistakes, and sea urchins really hurt. They're like a porcupine of the sea. They've got these really big spiny thorns that really do penetrate the skin. Now, they are amazing predators, but they protect themselves from predators as well. So they have all of these spines for protections. So I'm going to show you a really cool image, but I also have another question for you. Do sea urchins have eyes? True or false? What do you think?
Dun, 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 dun. I've got a sea urchin shell behind me on the shelf over there, which is a very fun thing to have. You
can bring it up and show people.
I will. I'll go get it in a second. Do they have eyes? What do we think? A lot of yes in our classes with
yes.
Oh, and then a lot of falses in the other class. It's all over the place again. I love it.
I love the range here. The answer is false. So technically, sea urchins don't have eyes, but they have light-sensitive cells. So basically, their entire body is an eye that can detect light and shadows. So interestingly enough, their bodies act somewhat like a giant eye. However, they don't have eyeballs like we do. So it's a really, really cool creature. Very interesting, in my opinion. Now, do sea urchins have mouths? They absolutely do. And I'm going to show you a really zoomed in video of this. That little centerpiece opening and closing like a claw is their mouth. Sea urchins, honestly, I get asked this all the time. They kind of look like aliens because they're very unknown to us. We don't see this very often. And unless you grab one of the spiny urchins and flip it on its backside, you will never see their mouths. So this is a really cool video to demonstrate that. Now, they do protect themselves very well. So this is a sea urchin trying to get eaten by a fish, but that fish is deciding, you know what, this is too much effort. I don't want to be in this environment. But look at when the fish swims away, there's so many sea urchins on the seabed, on the seafloor. And this actually is really good for other animals. Sea otters, I know that there was a class that actually mentioned that sea otters were their favorite animals. They love sea urchins. They're a great snack. And they actually have thick enough fur and thick enough paws that they can actually eat this delicious creature. Now, my last animal in the intertidal zones are mussels. And mussels are really, really exciting. They have the most resilient glue ever known. As humans, we have not been able to replicate this glue. Mussels attach themselves with this adhesive to any type of rock, and they actually can stay there through harsh waves, through storms, through when even boats hit them. So this glue is something that we haven't even mastered as humans. So I would like you to write it in the chat. What glue would you use? Would it be school glue, hot glue, gorilla glue, to stay perched in one spot underwater?
I baked some like oatmeal the other day, and then I left it in the bowl overnight. And that is the glue that I would use, because that stuff, we had to throw the bowl out. No,
that's ruined.
Super glue, everyone, every type mixed together. Avoca West epoxy resin. Mr. Cooper, we're going bold here. I like it. Okay.
Wow, I love that answer. So yeah, there are so many man-made glues that will never ever match the mussel glue that is created just in their own organic bodies. So we still have a lot to learn from nature. Now, I'm going to go ahead and tell you a couple things before we end off our program. What are some challenges of actually surviving in this zone? Now, there's a lot of perks, but there's a lot of challenges. One being harsh waves. As soon as there's any type of storm or a big current, these animals have to hold on for dear lives with their glues, with their tentacles, whatever it is, they do need to hold on and stay in that zone. Now, there's also desiccation, which is drying out. And we actually see that in sea stars quite often. They stay in that zone and they dry out in that zone because they maybe have mistaken and crawled a little too far, or a wave has pushed them a little too far. So that happens quite a bit with these creatures that live in the intertidal zone. Pollution is another big thing. We realize that humans are causing a little bit of pollution and even adding harsh chemicals to these zones, willingly or unwillingly. Sometimes it's industry, and sometimes it's just our sunscreen that we bathe in. And last thing is predators. Predators really love these zones because they're easy to navigate as land, as well as if you're a marine creature. So these intertidal creatures are definitely exposed to a lot of predators, including ourselves. Our feet can crush them very easily. So when you're walking in these zones, make sure that you're picking a path that you'll do the least damage on. So not crushing all the mussels and not crushing all the barnacles. So making sure that you really just choose somewhere safe. So you're probably asking me, why do we want to live in these zones? Well, there's a food abundance for all of these creatures. There's plenty of nutrition. There's plenty of hiding spots. The sunlight gives an abundant source of energy, and there's always fresh regulated oxygen and water movement in these zones. So that's why they're so biodiverse, and that's why they give so much life. So the ocean gives us life. but the ocean also faces a variety of threats. So we're going to put our thinking hats on, and this is how I'm going to end this program today. How can you protect the intertidal zone? So let's create a little list to end off our program. How can we protect these zones? You can write it in the chat, or Jesse can unmute some classes.
Oh yeah, we got all the classes. Mr. Cooper's class, we want to unmute. We can come to you first. Thoughts on how we can help these creatures, help save this region? Let's see. Oh, hey, Mr. Cooper, make sure you pick up trash is in our YouTube chat or StreamYard chat. That's fantastic.
Absolutely. Beach cleanups.
Nice. Less plastic and recycle. Beach cleanups. Yeah. Anyone on YouTube, you guys can chime in as well. Let's see. Miss Hamill's class, if you guys have your mic on, we'll come to you. Hey, guys.
Not walking through their paths and like staying away from them.
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm going to say minimizing foot traffic.
Good. To choose a good path, and walking already came through as well. These are all great options. Mr. Cooper, if you want to turn on that microphone, I can come to you guys too. We'll see. Stop throwing away trash because it can turn into microplastics. Man. Oh,
yeah.
You two, good ones. Don't dump waste in the water. These are all great. Very cool.
Absolutely. No waste in the water. And making sure sometimes it's also not removing these creatures. So sometimes we're really, removing these creatures. So sometimes we're always tempted by grabbing a seashell, grabbing, whether it's a rock or a pebble or these little clams. Sometimes you're tempted by grabbing those seashells, but they are homes to hermit crabs and they are homes for biodiversity. So making sure that they just stay where they are could be a really good way of saving these zones. So that is basically it for today. I'm going to go ahead and say thank you from everyone at Oceanwise. And you guys were such a lovely audience. If you enjoyed the program today, please book a virtual aqua session with Oceanwise. We'd love to come back into your classrooms. We love many different topics. But if you are interested, we do have a really awesome quiz that if teachers want to take a QR code right here, you can actually find out which ocean animal you are more similar to with this quiz. But I would like to thank Waves of Change for our programming. There are multiple different ways that you can really make an impact, whether it's joining the Lunchbox Challenge or even downloading Commit to Act app. We definitely have many different pathways for you and your classroom to really involve yourself in future choices. So that is it for me. Jesse, we're opening the floor to questions. Sorry if we went a little bit beyond time.
Oh, we're good.
So
lots of time. Lots of Q&A time. I'll start by showing the sea urchin shell. So they're just gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. I love my sea urchin shell. I got a megalodon tooth over really cool too. So,
and you can see the little bumps of each spine.
Oh yeah, every single. I wonder if I can get it close enough. They're like a little bit of texture. There we go. It's sort of focused.
That is awesome.
I know. That screwed up the focus on my face. There we go. We're going to start with Q&A. So live classes, unmute your mics. We're going to come to all of you several times. Quick one before we get underway. Miss Hamill's class, we're going to come to you first. Julie, a question from Miss A on YouTube joining us in Toronto. They want to know how you get your job. How do you become an educator for someone like Oceanwise?
Yeah, well, spending a lot of time in the ocean and being knowledgeable about it. I have lived my whole life next to water, and I've definitely noticed a lot of details, and I love talking to people about it. So my job is either you can do it through school, you can go as a marine biologist, and you can learn about all of these amazing creatures, or you can just be really personable and love what you do. And that's honestly part of every single job, is just understanding you can share your knowledge with everyone and be really passionate about it and make it your work. And that's what I do with Oceanwise is exactly that.
Fantastic. Great question to kick us off, guys. I like the personal one. We're going to head to Mrs. Hamill's class. If you want to unmute, come on in. And again, teachers, keep those mics unmuted. It'll make it way easier in Q&A together, I promise. Let's head to you guys. Chatham, come on in. Hey, grade sixes. Hi.
What is the population of these animals in the tide zone?
Yeah.
Sorry, you might have to just say it one more time.
Yeah, I can repeat it. What's the population of the animals in the tide zone? Are they endangered? Are there lots of them? Depends on the creature, I'm sure, but anything you want to share about the creatures?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we definitely know that there are many, many different types of animals. So to actually count them in all the tide pools and all the tide zones would be almost impossible. We definitely know that some animals are struggling and some animals are still thriving. So it really depends on which animals specifically. We also have noticed that at Oceanwise, we actually have a kelp foresting project. So we're understanding that there might be a depletion of kelp beds, so therefore the intertidal zone is now affected by that. But there's a huge variety of animals. Jesse, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that's perfect. And we talked about kelp yesterday. If you want to check that out on our YouTube channel, there's much more to explore and discover with that. So just keep that in mind. But yes, it's a challenging question. As Julie said, hundreds, if not thousands of different species live in the intertidal zone. So really depends on what we're talking about. Mr. Cooper's class, we'll head to you guys now. Come on in and take us away. Hey, guys.
Here we go.
Do the Great Lakes have tidelines?
Ooh, that's a very good question. Now, Jesse, I don't know if you can speak to that a little bit more. I'm so well versed with the ocean, but haven't lived on a Great Lake, so haven't witnessed it. It is a large body of water, but Jesse, what do you say?
Yeah, so I mean, you've got the fact that you've got a shoreline, obviously, on a Great Lake, but it doesn't move in the same way that the oceans do. The oceans are way, way bigger. You have a huge range of sort of where the water goes up and down. So you have creatures that are quite often in land for part of the day, at sea for part of the day. It's not quite the same, but I like where your head's at, guys. Very good.
Very good question.
Yeah, Avoca West, grade 3's Glenview. Come on in, take us away. Hey.
Okay, no, wait. I think you're number one here. Okay, we've got a lot of eager questioners. So we've got number one
Love
over
that.
Does eating the sea urchins and like mollusks
mussels.
Yeah.
damage, like kind of hurt the ocean a little,
That is such a wonderful question, and I'm so happy that you're thinking about that. These creatures, by eating seafood, we definitely deplete the creatures from their environment. However, there's a large population of mussels, depending on where you are in the world, and sea urchins. Sea urchins are actually really, really quite invasive at the moment. They're eating all of the kelp, and the sea otters, there's not enough sea otters to eat the sea urchins. So we're seeing millions of sea urchins on the floor. So we're actually encouraging humans to eat sea urchins more and more to make sure that we can actually balance out the numbers. So yes, eat seafood. However, look at sustainable seafood. And Oceanwise actually has a logo that you can look and investigate. If you go to the grocery store and you see the Oceanwise logo, we've put in the effort to make sure that you understand that it's sustainable seafood. So that's a really, really good question.
I love that we got this question. So in the U.S., by the way, so we've got Canadian and American audiences today. In the U.S., the Monterey Bay Aquarium has their own fantastic program for this. So in general, look up the seafood you're eating, see how it's taken out of the ocean to begin with, or see how it's harvested in some way to make sure that you're making the right choices and you're taking creatures that will keep their populations going. We aren't impacting ecosystems in a negative way. Oceanwise and Sea Smart is Monterey Bay's aquarium is one. So look for those logos. They'll be in grocery stores. They'll be at a lot of restaurants. That's a really, really thoughtful question. So thank you very much, guys.
Very thoughtful. Now I'm hungry.
Yeah, me too. We're going to do another round of questions with our live group. It's Ms. Hamill's class. Come on back in and take us away. Hey, guys. Oh, but unmute. Yes.
How many legs do sea stars have?
Ooh.
So there are different types of sea stars. So there are sea stars that have 5, typical, but then there's the sunflower sea star that actually can have up to 24 arms, which is really, really cool. It looks like a big, it's called a sunflower because it does look like it has many, many petals. And then there's some that are irregular shaped. So you see them a little bit thicker, but usually a sea star can have 5 arms. That is the usual count. But nature fascinates you in many different ways, and there's many different ways that it can shock you.
There sure are. Honestly, look up different kinds of sea star online. You'll see pictures of anything from 7, 11, 24. I've heard of 40 in the past. So there's a lot to explore with sea stars. They're very neat. And the crown are the best ones, as I said. Mr. Cooper's class, we're going to head back to you guys. Come on back in. Take us away. Hey.
Is it dangerous for the mussels to be using different garbage on the beach to
The crab.
Oh yeah, the hermit crab. Yep.
Yeah, so this is something really quite interesting. So the hermit crab is using garbage more and more because it's just in their environment. So a hermit crab doesn't necessarily understand that a seashell, which is something organic, versus a can, which is something a little bit more man-made, are two different things. It just says, well, it's here and I fit in it, so therefore I'm going to use it. Very resourceful. Now, we haven't necessarily explored the studies of, is it hurting the hermit crab? It's protecting it still, and that's a really good way. Now, should we avoid putting trash for the hermit crab? Absolutely. But we also need to admire its resourcefulness, as it's just creating homes wherever it goes.
I'm really glad we got this question, but it's something that you're starting to see in nature documentaries as well. It's amazing that they can utilize something like a pop can to live in, but do we want to see beaches where hermit crabs are all in pop cans rather than shells? No. So it's really important to deal with your trash in a responsible way. Make sure it ends up in a landfill somewhere where it's going to be preserved for thousands, if not millions of years, right? Take responsible choices when it comes to your own garbage and to prevent that sort of thing from happening. But it is quite fascinating to witness in the wild or in documentaries, what have you. So thank you for that question, guys. Mr. Cooper's class, great job.
Very thoughtful.
We're going to wrap up in just a second with one more from Avoca West. I just want to highlight again, ocean.org. If you want to learn more about OceanWise's incredible work, we've got one more program in the series tomorrow on change makers, but everything is on our YouTube channel, so you can explore so much more. And I do want to highlight the sustainable seafood page for OceanWise because they really do an incredible job. So take a look at that for our Canadian classrooms, and take a look at the Monterey Bay aquariums for our American U.S. audience. Avoca West, come on back in and take us away with one final question. Hey, guys.
How do sea urchins kill their food to eat them?
Ooh.
Oh, that's a really good question. So sea urchins, like we saw in the video, they have a really, it's called an Aristotle's lantern, which is their mouth, which is what they use to consume their food, just like we would with our teeth. Now, sea urchins primarily feed on algae. So it's really small organic material. So you can actually, just by moving on the sea floor, they're eating and killing their food. So realistically, they're not going ahead and spearfishing. They're not going ahead and digging their teeth into anything. They're just taking small nibbles of algae wherever they roam. So that's how they ingest.
Kind of like you just walking along and you're just picking up things as you go, but you're a sea urchin. They're very fun to watch eat. We got a little bit of a video in that clip earlier, so that was awesome. Guys, time flies and you're having fun, so we are nearing the end of the broadcast. If you have additional questions, please do email them to us at exploringbytheseatofyourpants. We'll get them to Julie, we'll get them to Model, we'll get them to the OceanWise team and get you some extra answers. But before we wrap up live, I just want to ask, is there any last message you want to share with our classes today, Julie, before we say thank you and farewell?
I am super thrilled to share this experience with you guys. You guys were amazing participants. That was so lovely. And I loved all your thoughtful questions. Thank you. And that's it for me.
Amazing. Well, what we do to wrap up every broadcast for our Chatham classes in particular, because I know our Avoca West class, you guys are ready. If you guys want to flick on your microphone to join me in saying a big thank you and farewell, you are all in the broadcast. Mrs. Hamill, Mr. Cooper, Avoca West, thank you so much, everybody.